You are Indoril Nerevar. You are walking out of a mountain, bleeding, and you have just won a war that will bury 1,000 years of hatred. And you are walking toward the three people who love you most in the world. That is the mistake. You will not see it coming. You will have 3,000 years to see it in hindsight, because no one has told you the one thing that matters yet. You are not going to be allowed to stay dead. Behind you, in the dark, you left the only friend who will keep his word to you. You do not know that yet either. You called him loyal. You were right, and it is going to damn you both. Before the mountain, before the blood, there was a thing no one believed could be built, and you built it. You are Chimere, ash and gold elves who walked away from the west to worship gods the rest of your kin called demons. For as long as anyone can name, your people and the Dwemer, the deep elves, the ones who worshipped nothing but their own cold reason, had hated each other across the same stony ground. Then the Nords came down out of the north to take all of it, and hatred became a luxury nobody could afford. So you did the impossible. You sat down across from the Dwarf-King Dwemer, and instead of killing him, you made him your brother, not a figure of speech, blood friend. You drove the Nords back into their snow together, and out of that victory, you built the first council. Every clan, every house, deep elf and ash elf, under one banner for the first time in the history of the world. Your world. You made it. They named you Hortator for it, war leader. And when you married your queen, Almalexia, gold-skinned, terrifying, the most dangerous person you have ever loved, it was Dwemer who came to the wedding. The Dwarf-King brought a gift only his people could have forged. 2 swords, twins, born from the same fire. Hope's fire for her, true flame for you. They burned without ever being consumed. You know the exact weight of that sword. You know the heat that never once burned your hand. Your best friend made it for you, for the happiest day of your life. You are going to break it in half in a war against him. The peace held for centuries, long enough that you let yourself believe it would hold forever. That was the second mistake, but you can be forgiven for it. You were happy, and happiness makes the ground feel solid. Then, one of your own came to you with a secret, and the ground stopped being solid. His name was Vorin Dagoth, Lord of House Dagoth, High Counselor. A man both you and the Dwemer trusted without a second thought. By every account that matters, the most faithful servant you ever had. He had learned what the deep elves were doing under Red Mountain. Down in the roots of the volcano, their high engineer Kagranak had found something buried in the stone. Not treasure, a heart. The literal heart of a dead god, still beating power into the world. And Kagranak had learned to tap it, and was using it to build a new god of brass and tone. A walking mechanical divinity that would answer to no one but the Dwemer. To your people, this was not politics. It was the deepest blasphemy imaginable. So Vorin Dagoth carried that truth to you, out of loyalty, and set it in your hands. The most faithful thing a servant could do. The world is going to spend the next 3 ages calling him the devil. You did not want to believe it. You went to your patron, Azura, goddess of dusk and dawn, whose champion you had always been, and she confirmed every word. The new god had to be stopped. So you did the only thing left. You went to your brother, and here the telling split for the first time, because some say Dumas looked you in the eye and lied, and others say something worse, that Dumas did not know. That his own engineer had kept the new god secret from his own king. That you came arrayed in armor to the door of the one friend who had never once betrayed you. And he had no idea what you were talking about. Either way, the words were said that could not be unsaid. Either way, the friendship you had spent your whole life building died in a single conversation. And the 2 peoples who had only ever been held together by the 2 of you went to war. The last battle was at Red Mountain, And you won it the way you won everything. With cunning, with sacrifice, with your queen and your generals drawing the enemy into the open, while you and Vorin Dagoth slipped into the mountain's heart by secret ways. You found Dumuk there. You found Kagranak there. Your brother fell. You will carry that one forever. And then the engineer, cornered and desperate, turned his tools upon the heart one last time. What happened next has no good words for it. You watched an entire people cease to exist. Not die, vanish. Every Dwemer, everywhere in the world, in the same instant, mid-breath, mid-step, gone. As if a hand had reached across all of creation and simply erased them from it. One moment your enemies filled the halls. The next, empty armor was still ringing as it struck the floor. You stood in the sudden silence, holding a victory so total it felt like a crime. And the tools remained. Sunder, Keening, Wraithguard. The instruments that could reach into the heart of a god. Vorin Dagoth gathered them up and brought them to you, wounded as you were, and asked what should be done with them. And you, grieving, bleeding, unwilling to decide alone, told him to wait. You looked at the most loyal man you had ever known, and you said the words the world will never let you take back. Stay here, loyal Dagoth-Ur, until I return. Then you turned your back on him and walked toward the light, toward your wife and your two dearest advisors, to decide together what to do with the power to become a god. You are not going to return, and that promise you just broke without knowing you were breaking it is going to become the axle that 3,000 years turn on. They gathered around you in the aftermath. Almalexia, your queen, Sotha Sil, your teacher, Vivek, your sharp and shining young poet. You made them swear, all three, on Azura's own name, that they would never use the tools the way the Dwemer had, that the power under the mountain would stay buried. They swore it. You trusted them the way you had trusted Dumont, and then you died. How you died is the question the world will never stop asking. The Ash people who kept the oldest story tell it cold. That when you asked to summon Azura a second time, to be certain, to be careful, 3 people who loved you decided you had become an obstacle. Poisoned candles from your queen, poisoned robes from your teacher, poisoned words from the poet. 3 gifts from 3 friends, and not one of them the kind you survive. Your friend's temple will deny all of it, will swear you died of your wounds, mourned and beloved in their arms. You will never know which telling is true. They broke the oath. Within a few short years, they went back to the mountain, took up the tools, and cut into the heart and made themselves the living gods of your people. The one thing you died to prevent, they became. Because while your friends were busy becoming gods, there was still a man standing in that heart chamber where you left him, waiting, guarding the tools exactly as his lord had told him to. Vorin Dagoth kept the one promise everyone else broke, kept it for years, alone under the mountain, because you told him to stay until you returned, and he was loyal, and you never came. And when the new gods finally wanted that power for themselves, someone had to go down into the dark and take the tools from the one man still keeping faith. He would not give them up. Why would he? He was doing exactly what you asked. So he was struck down, in your name, with your authority, the hero's authority. The single most faithful servant you ever had, punished for his obedience. Years and ruin later, he will find a way to send you a message across all that time. Not a threat, a wound. Beneath Red Mountain, you struck me down as I guarded the treasure you bound me by oath to defend. You were grieving the wrong loss. The betrayal that will define every life you have left is the one committed against the only person who never broke his word to you. Azura was not fooled, and Azura was not merciful. She came to your friends in the very hour of their triumph, and she cursed them, and not only them. every Chimer alive. In an instant, the gold went out of your people's skin and left it the color of ash. Their eyes kindled red as coals. The ash and gold elves you united, the people you died for, would be gray and red until the end of the world, marked forever by what your friends did with the power you had forbidden. Your people have a new name now. Dwemer, the Dark Ones, the Cursed, if you ask the ones who still remember why. And she made a promise of her own. Her champion would return. You would come back, and you would cast the false gods down, and you would set right everything done in that mountain. The marriage your brother forged those swords for ends with your widow taking Vivek, one of the three who may have poisoned you, as her consort, while your grieving people learn to pray to the very three who outlived you. As for the sword itself, True Flame, the one Dumont made for the happiest day of your life. It shattered in the mountain when you fell. The flame went out. The pieces scattered. For 3,000 years, nobody even knew where to look. 3,000 years is a long time to keep a promise. Azura kept hers. You come back. Not as yourself, as a stranger, a prisoner, born on a certain day, to uncertain parents, shipped to the island under guard with no memory of ever having been a king. But it is you. It has always been you. And this time, when you walk toward Red Mountain, you are not walking blind into a trap. You are walking in to finish it. You know the way to the heart chamber by heart, because part of you never left it. Your widow is still alive. Almalexia, still wearing her stolen divinity, still keeping Hope's fire, the twin of your broken sword, bright and safe. She does not know that the useful stranger in front of her is her dead husband come home. So she sends you to gather the shattered pieces of True Flame and make it whole again. You reforge the sword your best friend made for your wedding with your own reborn hands at the request of the wife who buried you. Then she asks you to stand at her side once more, and the moment you have served your purpose, she tries to kill you. A second time, the same woman, across 3,000 years. Because a living Nerevar is the one thing a false god cannot survive. She fails. This time you see it coming. You always would, eventually. And you go down into the mountain, past the ash and the blight, to the last friend. Vorin Dagoth, the loyal one, waiting exactly where you left him, twisted now into something monstrous by the same heart your other friends drank from, still calling you old friend, still asking why you would come to him by stealth instead of openly. And you end him, the one who kept faith. By now he has become the thing that will devour the world if you do not. Mercy and murder have worn the same face since the day you first walked into this mountain. You cut the heart out of the world. The false gods lose their stolen power at last. After 3,000 years, the war you died in is finally, truly over. You are walking out of a mountain again, bleeding, toward the people you love. Except now you are walking the other way, 3,000 years later, wearing a stranger's face. Back into the dark you were never allowed to leave. You were never a god, and you were never truly a saint. You were a man who trusted the people closest to him, and that trust is the whole reason any of it happened. Everyone has left someone loyal waiting in the dark while they walked toward the ones who smiled easier. And everyone has learned, too late sometimes, that faith is quietest in the people we forget to thank. If you want more of Tamriel's dead remembered the way they actually lived, subscribe, and the next life is yours to step into. The flame goes out of the sword in your hand, the mountain goes quiet, and somewhere at the edge of dusk, a goddess who kept her word watches you finally set the whole thing down.